Post-task ratings. In this section, we're going to have a look at a couple of examples of the types of post-task rating that you might use. There's no right or wrong answers in this here, so we're just going to explore a couple of different ways of doing it. And generally speaking, it is very much tied into the type of testing that's done and what's of interest to measure after that test. As a reminder, for post-task ratings, we're looking here at the user doing a particular task, and then we are asking them some questions immediately following that task, whilst it is still fresh in their mind in terms of their experience of having completed or not that task. Now, why do we do this here? It helps us identify elements that may need to be improved. It helps us give a bit of an insight into some of the choices and the decision that the user made, and that then helps us contextualize and better understand any other metrics that we collected whilst the user was doing the task in terms of their time on task, the efficiency, the errors that were made, and so on. So I've got three different examples in this section that I want to highlight, and just to reiterate, there's no right or no wrong. These are just three examples. They might help inform some of the own design you do yourself, or you may want to go for something different. Ease of use is a very, very simple thing to do. We could simply ask the user then about, well, if they thought it was easy to do. We could directly let our questions into the things that we're measuring. If we're measuring, for example, error rate, then we could ask the user then to report on some aspects around that. By way of a couple more formal approaches, after scenario questionnaire, ASQ, so this is quite a long established one. You probably will want to sort of update the questions a little bit, but it asks three questions that touch upon usability, effectiveness, efficiency, satisfaction. So those three elements of usability after each task. And you can see the questions here. I'm satisfied with the ease of completing the task. So if the user may have found it easy, the amount of time that it took, if it met their expectation, and satisfied with the support information. So how easy it was to do in terms of the support that was provided to them. Now, you can tweak this here. You can have sort of a standardized set. You can have a bespoke set. It's whatever you want to use. This, I think, is an interesting one, and you may want to think about using this in terms of your user testing. It's Albert and Dixon, and it's expectation measurements. And for this here, there was two questions. There was one question that was asked before the task was done, and then one question that was asked after the task was done. So before completing the task, in fact all of the tasks, the users were asked to rate how easy or difficult they thought the tasks were going to be. So we might have 5 different tasks that we're going to do. We sort of explain to the user at the front, okay, so you're going to be doing this, we're going to get you to do that, and then you'll do that. How easy do you think each of those tasks are going to be? Typically a 7-point scale from sort of easy to difficult was used and identified. After they've done each task, we would then ask the user, okay, so you've just done that task. Tell me your experience of how difficult it was actually to do. Again, 7-point scale, you can go away from, oh, it was really easy to, oh, it was really quite difficult. And the differences then between what the user thought up front in terms of their expectations and what we collected through their experiences after the task, that gives us quite a rich set of data. We can plot that using more or less a scatter plot. You can see this here on the screen where we have expectation rating along the bottom from very difficult to very easy, and the experience rating up the side, again from very difficult for very easy. We can segment that into different quadrants depending upon where it falls, and the quadrant into which it falls, you can see we've labeled them here from big opportunity to fix it fast to don't touch it to promote it. The quadrants that the points fall into, they give us a useful insight into whatever task we've asked the user to do. So just in terms of those quadrants, things that fall into the fix it fast. So these are tasks that the user said up front, oh, it'll be easy to do this. And then when we give them a task to do it, it turned out to be quite difficult. They're red lights for us because these are ones where the user's expectations have not been met. In fact, they've been frustrated. It turned out to be much more difficult than they thought it was going to be. And from the user's point of view, this is not going to be a positive aspect. So for any instances that fall into that, they are good indications of things that we need to work on to improve quite radically the user's experience. They don't touch a category. So these are things that the user thought would be easy and turned out to be easy. That's fine. They're working. They're easy, and the user thought they were going to be easy. Don't touch it in the sense of, if we are making any improvements or modifications or changes to it, we have to be extra careful we don't inadvertently make it more difficult and change the happy quadrant that it finds itself in. The promoted quadrant, that's for tasks that the user thought, oh, that's going to be difficult. But then when they did it, it turned out to be, oh, it wasn't that bad actually, after all. They're pleasant surprises from the user's point of view. They're good things. And potentially they offer then features or elements of the system that we can sing about, we can talk about, we can shout about, we can promote more, because they are strengths of the system relative to what our users expected. And the category labeled big opportunity are things that the user thought, oh, it's going to be difficult, and it turned out to be difficult. So yeah, they're just fundamentally difficult things, and they're acknowledged to be difficult. If, and if being the key operative word here, if it is possible to improve this, that's likely then to represent a significant return, because we've taken something that is currently difficult and was expected to be difficult. Any improvements we bring about in that are likely then to be well received. So that's all I want to look at in this particular section. We've covered a few of the different examples that we could use in terms of post-task questionnaires and surveys and types of engagement we would have with our user. Just to reiterate, there's no right or wrong answer in this here. It is important to think about what are the things you want to measure and to understand, and for any post-task elements, you focus then the questionnaires, the questions, the open-ended stuff around things that are important. In the next talk after this, we're going to go to look at post-session user evaluation. So these are things we'll do at the very end after the user's gone through all the different tasks. We'll ask them these set of questions then at the very end.